Hello and welcome to your Sunday afternoon dumpster fire. I had a few things to say about what's being called the CanLit meltdown. There's an awful civil war going on, uncivil war. A lot of screaming and yelling and accusations and bitterness and, I think, justified hurt by people whose voices are not being heard. They never really were heard. I can't possibly include all the issues. I had this image of does anybody have a junk drawer? It's a drawer and it's just got all kinds of crap in it that you've thrown in there, including string and yarn and things like that. So if you lift up your piece of string, everything is hanging off it. That's what this is like. It's uncovered stuff that I think has been there forever. For me, there's so many things. There's horrible sexism, indigenous voices being at least muted or told they don't really belong. Anyone with sexual identity that's different from the so-called mainstream. All those things, it's coming to light how difficult it's been for them to have a voice. Maybe that needs to come out. But it's like flushing out sewer rats. It's not very pleasant. You pull up your string and there's all this crap. You try to weed out the noxious root and you get a big root that doesn't want to come up. Now we hear a lot from Margaret Atwood, who's very good at being demure. She's an older woman, but she's demure. She has great cheekbones. But she does the sort of who me thing really, really well. And because she has such power, and she knows it, she swings a lot of power worldwide now. She's very well known for The Handmaid's Tale, everything else. I think she still thinks Galloway was treated unfairly. She spoke out a lot about that. She didn't seem to understand what everybody was so upset about. Well, we just wanted to give him a fair shake. But that's not really what it was about. When it was written about, the UBC Accountable letter, it had nothing to do with fairness. The writers were saying things like, we stand united. The media was calling them a who's who. Well, what's a who's who? It's like Burke's Peerage. You ever seen that? I guess I'm old in English, but it's peerage. It's these muckety-mucks. Joseph Boyden started the whole thing, and Joseph Boyden, what can I say? He's a fake Indian. Too bad. My dumpster fire is over. He's made a whole career of being really a false and indigenous person, not unlike Grey Owl in the 1950s. He's been found out. He can no longer make a career out of it, and things are very kind of dicey for him now. But he started that, and I think that's telling. But we had all these who's who of writers, and there was definitely a sense that could not be hidden another second of over here and then down here, just people scurrying around. Lower. And the media was using terms like that, lesser known, and emerging. I guess we have to say something, emerging. Emerging is what you do from a swamp. That's not what you do when you're beginning to spread your creative wings. Why can't they use those terms? Everybody screams at the media, but they use the same stock phrases they've been using forever. So the coverage of it is pretty skewed. I was going to say screwed. I was going to read part of an article on it, but I can't. It's like the school ground in grade 5. And I don't want to name any one particular person, but I think the elitists swinging their weight around and being provocative like that. What can I say? Is that ever going to stop? It's what we used to call in the 60s a power trip. And the whole point of it is to make others feel bad and feel they didn't have significant careers because they didn't sell enough copies. It's all to do with selling copies and making money. This thing is rattling and squeaky. That seems to be what it's about in the final analysis, and becoming known, and celebritude and money go hand in hand. So if you're not as well known, then yeah, some of these people who signed were really strongly implying we're the only ones who can write anyway. In fact, that was stated. Anyway, I won't go over old news. This just seems to multiply. There's going to be a book coming out about it, and right away there's blowback on that. There's pushback on that. Somebody does need to write a book about it. And I think it should have a number of different perspectives. I don't know how that's going to go. God, I really think this has to be sorted out. Not straightened out, solved, or finished. But when does it end? It just seems to get more and more complex. There's more and more anger. I'm angry. I blamed myself when my books didn't sell. I had 3 novels published a few years ago. It's hard to say, but I knew I was not one of those elite. You almost seem to have to be in it to be in it. You know, does that make any sense? My cat's up there. You have to be popular in order to be popular. And over again, I'm reminded of the school ground and the schoolyard and the elites in high school. And my God, you know, this girlfriend I had, not really a girlfriend, she wouldn't allow me to be a girlfriend. But if you were in her circle, you were somebody. Why? She wasn't very nice. She was smart. Yeah, so am I. It's all that, I don't like to say sucking up. But then you've got this whole issue of women being abused within the system and really being told outright, if you complain, it's the end of your career. That's coming up again and again. In universities, particularly, but everywhere. You are going to suffer, so don't say anything. And if they come out later, finally, holding their breath and saying something, there's a sense of, well, why didn't you say anything? That happens all the time. Why didn't you say anything? Well, you had your chance. It's too late now. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? What, you spiteful? You bitter? I'm bitter about some things. I'm not in CanLit. I'm kind of glad I'm not. Sort of relieved I was spared all that. But there's such a hierarchy. Those at the top, quote unquote, were respected writers. That came out too in this whole coverage of all this crap that still keeps coming out. Can't get into all of it. Highly respected writers. Well, what am I, chopped liver? You know, I'm a writer. I've written about 6 novels. Not all of them sailed, but there really is something discouraging about it all. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the answer is going to be. People say things like, well, let's just keep a dialogue going. But I have to make a comment about how that dialogue is taking place. And I'm going to sound like a Luddite when I say it. I wrote a little piece of my, it's making a noise, wrote a piece on my blog about what used to happen if somebody was angry at something they read or something a writer or somebody said. What did they have to do? Well, they had to find a piece of paper, find a pen, write the thing out, find an envelope, address it, find a stamp, put it on, pick the thing up, walk to the mailbox, and drop it in, and wait. And never see it in print, or maybe see it in print in edited form. I'm not saying that's good. I'm saying that's how it used to be. Now there is no time between the thought you have and the anger you have and the desire to hit out at somebody and seeing it not just out in a little magazine, but everywhere. In the Twitterverse, as they call it. It's a different game. People can say what they want, sometimes behind cover of anonymity. They're not in front of that other person. They can't take a swing at them. It just frightens me to think that it's dwindled down to that immediacy, and that was supposed to be such a good thing. Social media, I don't know. It's the devil. I go on Facebook. I don't like it. There's some good in it. But I'm on Facebook Lite now because I've seen what happens, and especially with Twitter. It's the thing to do, and if you're not on Twitter, it's just so incendiary, so much of it. And there's these digs and little poison darts thrown out, and then somebody else, you know, what the hell use is it? We can't go back. We have Twitter. We're not going to go back to writing on pieces of paper. That's the Stone Age. But human beings are slow to catch up with their own technology. And when there's a war going on like this one, and there is a war going on, civil war, it's not very civil, an uncivil war. That's what I should call this, the uncivil war, haha. We've got to find a way to sort it out. And I don't know if that's going to happen or how it's going to happen. People will not sit down around a table. I don't think that'll do any good. I think people are going to stand up and stomp off. What's going to happen to literature? I don't know. I think there may be more of a schism than ever. But out of that may come some good, a sort of realization that these are the two solitudes that we talked about generations ago. There's going to be this type of publishing and that. There always has been. But there's been this lie that we're all equally valued. I think the literary presses are going to have to remake themselves and reinvent themselves, but they're good at that. That's what they do. The big presses are American anyway, aren't they? They're American. What's that got to do with Canada? So that's the only hope we have. You know, just grow back the limbs that were lopped off by certain people like Jonathan Kay. If you're out there, just listen to this.